The Samsung Galaxy S8 made waves when it was first announced in early 2017. It was one of the first entries to the race of getting bezel-less. It increased the screen size vertically by a significant amount and removed the physical home button. The curved, giant display resulted in a very premium experience, but that was 3 years ago. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and today we're taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. How do they hold up in 2020, and are they still worth buying? So here's the deal. Is the S8 worth buying? Well, yes and no. Yes, in that, in my opinion, it's still one of the most beautifully designed smartphones out there, and that it's at a very, very reasonable price online. If you're okay with buying used or refurbished, which you'll probably have to for this phone, you can find one for like 150 bucks on eBay.com. That kind of deal almost seems too good to be true, but it isn't. And so if that's the kind of deal you're looking at, I'd go for it. It's a great phone. No, it's not the fastest anymore. It definitely doesn't have the best camera. It can feel sluggish, and well, it's on an old version of Android, but it still has that fantastic design, and it feels like a modern smartphone experience. If you can give up some of the new features you would get in a better phone, then the S8 for 150 bucks is an absolute steal. But with that initial recommendation out of the way, let's take a closer look at the S8 and S8 Plus, starting with the design. We're looking at a glass front and back sandwiching an aluminum frame. We have many color options: midnight black, orchid gray, coral blue, arctic silver, maple gold. I have the orchid gray here, and I quite like it. Very classy. It definitely does collect fingerprints, but otherwise it's nice, although you'll probably end up slapping a case on it anyways. We only have one camera here, as well as the flash and fingerprint sensor, and right here is the biggest design flaw of the phone. The fingerprint sensor is right beside the camera, making it super annoying to use. Most of the time I end up touching the camera instead of the sensor, plus you need to really stretch to reach it. It's just a bad design element, and luckily the S9 fixed it the next year by putting it under the camera. On the front of the phone, we have either a 5.8-inch or 6.2-inch display, depending on whether or not you go for the Plus. This here is the S8 Plus. Both screens are absolutely gorgeous, and while the smaller phone does have a slightly higher pixel density, I doubt you'll notice any difference. The phones are AMOLED, meaning blacks are black and the colors really pop. Again, for around 150 bucks, I don't think you could find a phone with a better display. Although definitely correct me in the comments if you do actually find something better. Battery life will be a bit better on the Galaxy S8 Plus, as the battery is about 500 milliamp hours bigger, but honestly there aren't going to be a whole lot of differences between the two phones. Definitely just go for the one that feels best in your hand. Because this is a Samsung, we have a plethora of features you won't find anywhere else. I mean, some you will, but probably not as many as we have here. Wireless charging, fast charging, water resistance, a headphone jack, always on display, micro SD card support, an iris scanner if you don't like using the fingerprint sensor, and more. Some of these things you probably won't use, but they're still nice to have. Let's take a look at that camera. We have 12 megapixels and can film video in 4K at 30 frames per second. Photos, as you can see here, are okay. This camera definitely could be better, but it is a few years behind, and you could definitely tell. I think we've been really spoiled as of recent when it comes to smartphone cameras. Honestly, this one is fine and will do the job for most people, no problem. Video, on the other hand, isn't great. It's fine, 4K 30, but definitely could be better. But yeah, it's fine. The selfie camera is 8 megapixels, and I guess this is an alright selfie, not a whole lot to say there. So yeah, you're not going to be writing home about your brand new S8's camera, but it definitely is good enough, and considering the phone costs about 150 bucks, you don't really have any room to complain. And that expands to most aspects of this phone, although there is at least one thing we can complain about, namely a problem Samsung has with all its products: software support. The S8 is stuck on Android 9, and it will be forever unless you go about installing a custom ROM, as you can do with Androids. But for the vast majority of people, you're never going to get past where you are now. This means none of the new features all the new Android versions bring ever. This is opposed to Apple's iPhone 6s from 2015 being fully supported on iOS 13, or on the Android side, Google's Pixel 1 from 2016 being on the latest version of Android 10. The fact that Samsung doesn't support their phones past 2 years is just embarrassing. The S8 and S8 Plus have good hardware and should be more than capable of handling Android 10. We're looking at the Snapdragon 835, at least in North America, and 4 GB of RAM. Battery life can be a bit rough off due to the age of these phones, but on a technical level, they have more than enough power to use Android 10. 2 major updates for a flagship phone is unacceptable, and that's a big reason I personally don't recommend buying brand new Samsung phones. It's too bad because the phones themselves are really good, but if you're looking for longevity, you need to avoid Samsung. That said, this is a bit of a double-edged sword because it results in Samsung phone resale values being horrible, and that's a big part of why the S8 is so cheap already. Is Android 10 that much better than Android 9? No, it's more the principle of the thing for me, and so using an S8 in 2020 is totally doable and enjoyable. This is still a good phone, even if the software is a bit sluggish at times and the battery life could be better. Most apps run great, and media consumption with that gorgeous display and headphone jack is pretty awesome. Could Samsung have made the Galaxy S8 a better experience 3 years later? Absolutely. If it was running Android 10, it would be a no-brainer, but as it is now, it's still kind of a no-brainer for only $150. It's a really good deal. Sure, it has its flaws, but when you're looking at that little money for such a capable smartphone, it's really hard to complain. If you have one right now, you're probably doing pretty well, and honestly, it's one of my favorite Samsungs ever. It's too bad it doesn't have current support, but overall, it's aged pretty well and still holds up in 2020. But with that, I think I'm pretty much done here. Do you have the S8? Are you thinking about getting one? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this video interesting or helpful, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at 91_tech if you'd like to for some reason. With that all being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.